So I've been selling cards on COMC for about a year now, and for my first submission from a year ago, obviously not all of my cards sold. So what do I do with the cards that don't sell? Well, I'm going to give you guys 5 tips on what to do with the cards that don't sell after a year and when you submit them. Hey, welcome to the video everyone. This is Eagleman here. I have a quick informational video about some tips on how I deal with cards that don't sell after a year. So the first question I have to ask is, why do you have to change things at all after a year if your cards don't sell? What if the cards just aren't super popular and they just haven't been picked up yet? Well, there's a couple reasons why you should make some changes after a year if your cards don't sell. Number one is to make some money back. I mean, you've sunk a cost into these cards already, from the submission fees, the storage fees, etc. There's all sorts of fees involved with sending your cards into COMC. There's a sunk cost into these cards, so you want to make some money back from them. And in order to make some money back, you're going to have to make some changes. If your cards don't sell from a whole year from sitting on the site, there's probably a couple changes you should make. Also, if your cards are sitting that long for a year, most likely they're going to accumulate some storage fees, and I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about how storage fees actually work with COMC, but most likely those cards are accruing fees. They're costing you more money to sit there, and you don't want that to happen. Lastly, a reason you should make some changes is so that you can learn more about what cards don't sell and learn about what cards actually do sell, so that your next submissions are a bit more informative and you have a better chance at selling cards more easily. So here are my 5 tips on what to do with your cards if they don't sell on COMC after a year. Number 1 is to continually lower the price of your card. You're gonna have to check your ego a little bit on this. I know it hurts sometimes. If you think your card is $10 and after a year it doesn't sell for being $10, the card is probably not worth $10. So you might have to do some research on other sites, eBay, any sort of sites that will show you completed sales of the card. Make sure that the actual price of the card is pretty reasonable and that you're not way overpricing it. That's probably why the card hasn't sold. Now, when I say continually lower the price of the card, I don't just mean after 1 year, check the prices of your card, then lower it down a little bit. What I like to do personally is every couple weeks, I'll check the prices of my cards to see how they're stacking up against other sellers. Sometimes other sellers will list a card that's half the price of my card on the site, and it'll take some time for even that card to sell. So sometimes you have to check yourself. You have to learn a little bit about what cards you have in your port, what cards you have in your inventory, and just continually lower the price of that card down. It's okay to check your ego a little bit. Of course, it depends on how much money you've sunk into the card, but at the end of the day, it's a sunk cost you have in sending the card to COMC. So it's okay to make a little bit of profit back from it, even if it's less profit than what you expected. What I also recommend is if you have cards that are about $1, maybe about 90 cents, I would recommend taking that card and lowering the price to under 75 cents. And so why 75 cents? Well, the reason being is because COMC will charge you a storage fee for cards that are greater than 75 cents. So after 90 days of submitting cards to COMC, let's say you have a batch of cards, they go to COMC, and after 90 days of those cards sitting in inventory, if any of those cards are greater than 75 cents, they're going to charge you 1 penny every single month that card sits in storage. But if the card is not listed at more than 75 cents, you're not getting any fees on it. So if you have a card that's kind of about that range, around 75 cents, just take the hit, lower it to 74 cents. You won't get the storage fee. You won't have to worry about any sort of fees in the future from those cards. Tip number 2. Donate the cards. I've actually done this in the past. This is probably something that might not strike you as something to do right away if you're trying to make profits, but it's actually something really cool that COMC offers, and I really appreciate the fact that they do this. If you have cards that you just don't have a good idea that they're going to sell, maybe you accidentally slipped them into the box when you shipped it out, you didn't really intend for these cards to sell right away, now you're just kind of regretting sending them in, it's okay to just donate them. There's a button you can click, there's an action that you can click on the button or the card, and you can choose to donate those cards, and it's a really great feature. Highly recommend it if you have some cards that you just don't want in your inventory, you don't really see it selling in the future, just go ahead and donate them. It actually does go to a good cause from COMC. Number 3 is accept offers. And to be able to accept offers from people, you have to enable offers. So enable offers, I definitely recommend enabling offers on your profile, on your seller profile. This allows people to, if they see a card that they like, allows them to type in an offer. Allowing someone to type in an offer gets the ball rolling. It allows people to express some interest in your card. And knowing that someone has interest in your card, it allows you to negotiate a price back and forth. And just because someone gives you an offer doesn't mean that you have to accept it, but if someone's giving you an offer for a card, That's money people are willing to give you for a card. And this goes back to the idea of sunk cost. You already have a sunk cost into these cards by submitting them. If someone's going to give you money for that card, you might as well take it. Now, of course, this varies card to card. If you have like a super valuable card, a more pricey card on there, you might be a bit more reluctant to accept offers just because you might know the actual price of that card, or you're just kind of expecting more from it. That's okay to kind of negotiate an offer. But if you have, let's say, a card listed for $2, someone offers you $1.50, just accept it. 50 cents. This will help sell your cards a lot more quickly. You'll avoid storage fees, plus you'll make some money back from the sunk cost that you already have in the site. Tip number 4 is to run a promotion. So COMC offers this cool idea on their site to run a promotion, and what it does is it's kind of like a blanket discount time frame for all of your cards on your port. Kind of allows your cards to get more eyes. COMC adds this flashy green price graphic to all of your cards, showing the price cut that it has. It's kind of a bit more appealing for people to buy your cards, but it also lowers the price of every single card in your port. Now take this with a grain of salt. Like I said, it lowers the price of every single card in your port. So let's say you submit a card a year ago, a couple cards a year ago, and they don't end up selling, but you just submitted cards a week ago and they're finally being processed in. Well, if you run a port or run a promotion, those cards that you just submitted are also going to be discounted. So be careful, adjust your price accordingly, but running a promotion just lowers the price of all of your cards. This kind of goes back to the first tip I gave to lower the prices of the cards. Running a promotion is just kind of a blanket, easy fix to do that all at once. There's a little bit extra fees involved with this, but it's not a major fee. Plus, it gets more eyes on your cards, and your cards will probably sell a little bit easier. And the last tip, tip number 5, right before I get into a couple stats breakdown of why you should start avoiding some of these storage fees. So stay tuned for that. But tip number 5 is to simply learn why the card didn't sell in the first place. I think this is really important because sometimes when you submit cards, you kind of expect them to sell right away or within a couple months, and then they end up sitting there for a year and you're wondering, why didn't those cards sell? Well, it's a good opportunity for you to learn. Look at the cards that didn't sell, then look at the cards that did sell. Was it because it was a popular player or wasn't a popular player? Was the set not popular? Was the card overpriced? The condition details, every single aspect of the card, why it didn't sell, is something that you can learn from so that your next submissions can be a lot more valuable, a lot more informative. You'll probably be able to sell your cards a lot more easily. So definitely do some research, do some learning from the fact of why those cards did or did not sell. So like I said, we're going to do a theoretical breakdown of what storage fees actually look like after a year or so of cards not selling. Of course, this is all theoretical in this first part. So let's say you submit 1,000 cards in your first order to COMC. 1,000 of your cards you ship out to comc.com. And after 1 year, let's say 750 of those cards sell. 75% sell, that's really good. So after a year, 750 of those cards sell, kind of spaced out throughout the year. So you have 250 cards remaining though. 250 of your cards did not sell. And let's also theoretically say that every one of those 250 cards is listed at more than 75 cents, so they are eligible for a storage fee, which means that from the time you submitted all 1,000 of those cards, those 250 cards that did not sell are going to be charged 1 penny. Each of those cards be charged 1 penny 9 times throughout the year, which means that the total fees for all those cards is $22.50, and that's not including any other potential storage fees from the other 750 cards that did sell. So $22.50, you're probably thinking, well, I guess that's not much. You know, $20 bill, a couple bills and change, that's not really that much. But you also have to consider that you already spent $500 in submission fees in the 1,000 card order. So this is just extra fees accruing, and it's just a bigger sunk cost that you're having. You don't want to deal with that. $22 is a lot for storing the cards. That's not including all the other processing, shipping fees, submission fees, selling fees. There's all sorts of fees with COMC, and I've made a video about this in the past, detailing out all the fees included and how much money you actually make on COMC. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. I would love for you to take a look and leave your comments about it. But there's a lot of fees involved with COMC, so you don't want to rack up any more fees than you have to. So eliminating those storage fees is important. which is why those 5 tips I gave you early in the video, lowering the prices of your card to get rid of those storage fees, donating the card, accepting offers, running promotions, getting those cards out of your inventory quickly, I think is super important in the long run. Let's go ahead and break down my own stats. So like I said, I submitted my first batch of cards to COMC about a year ago. I actually submitted 2 batches that ended up being processed at the exact same time, around this time of year, which has been about a year now. And you can actually check out those 2 videos. I made a video about what cards I actually sent to COMC. So I submitted 504 cards last year, kind of spaced out like I said. And after 1 year, 439 of those cards sold, which is 87% of the cards I submitted sold. That's actually really good. I'm kind of surprised about that, which means 65 of those cards did not sell. It's interesting to know, if you probably look at those 2 videos of what cards were exactly I was selling, they didn't seem like cards that would sell right away, which is really interesting to know. I wasn't really expecting them to sell right away or for very high dollar, but to expect 87% of those cards sold is kind of flattering and kind of interesting to me. I thought that was kind of weird to note. So let's look at the theoretical storage fees of the 65 cards that haven't sold from when I submitted them a year ago. Now, let's take this also with a grain of salt, those 65 cards. I think a couple of them are a lot lower than 75 cents that I have listed for, so they don't rack up storage fees. But also at the same time, of the 439 cards that did sell, some of those cards racked up a little bit of storage fee by the time they sold. So this is kind of a rough estimate of how much storage fees I've accrued from the year, from the first batch of cards I sent in. So we had 65 cards. They're going to be charged 9 times because the first 3 months are free for storage. 65 cards charged 9 times, and they're charged 1 cent each, which comes out to about $5.85. So about $6 for my first batch of cards, which was about 500 cards to start with. $6 isn't terrible, I suppose, considering they're cards that I wasn't really expecting to sell in the first place, so that's not bad. Hope you guys took something away from this video. The 5 tips I offered, please leave your comments below. If you have extra tips on how to sell your cards a bit more quickly, or what you should do with the cards after a year that they didn't sell. Another tip that I should point out, if your cards don't actually sell, you can always choose to have them shipped back to you, and you can sell them through a different means. You don't have to have them sitting in the COMC warehouse. They are yours. You do own them. Just because they're at the COMC warehouse doesn't mean that you forfeited all your ownership of them. You still own them, but you'll have to pay a shipping fee to have the cards back. So that might be a bit tedious, and obviously there's a lot of money that you're losing there by having the cards shipped back to you after not selling and after going through all the other fees to get the cards processed on the site. But you can always choose to have that option. I'd recommend to not do that, but of course it depends on what cards you have and what intentions you have with the cards. But nevertheless, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully you guys did learn something. Comment below your thoughts about it. If you're ever interested in checking out my own COMC store, I'll leave the link down in the description and down in the comments, hopefully. But other than that, really appreciate you guys tuning in for today's video. If you guys did enjoy it, please like and subscribe for more of these to come. This has been Eagle Man. I'll see you guys next time.